Romania, famous for Bran Castle, rumored home of Vlad the Impaler. Yes, Dracula. But step beyond the myth. And Romania, the 12th largest country in Europe, opens up like a fairy tale come to life. From the bustling heartbeat of Bucharest, the capital, to the pastel-perfect towns of Sibiu and Sighișoara, this country leaves you enchanted at every corner. I started in Miami, a long journey via Amsterdam before reaching Romania. First stop, the Parliament Palace. It's the third largest building in the world and weighs a staggering 4.1 million tons. There are 1,100 rooms, but only 400 are lavishly decorated with crystal, steel, bronze, and marble. More than Parliament, it also hosts grand events and official government meetings. The views from the balcony? Absolutely unreal. The best way to see Bucharest is on foot, where you'll come across the University of Bucharest, King Carol I's monument, the Romanian Athenaeum, the CEC Palace, and Zlatori Church. Just around the corner, you'll find Stavropolis Monastery, built in 1724, a quiet Eastern Orthodox courtyard tucked into the city. After wandering the city a little longer, I grabbed some delicious vegetarian food and a cold beer at an Indian restaurant. A man casually whizzed by on a fluffy floating skateboard, very unique, as I made my way to my Moroccan-themed room at the Mansion Boutique Hotel in the city center. With only 19 rooms, each is uniquely themed, from Nautic to Gothic, the perfect place to rest and unwind for the night. A smooth 2.5-hour train ride from Bucharest took me to the charming town of Brașov. Nestled in the Carpathian Mountains, I stayed right in the medieval heart of the city at Piața Sfatului. The center feels intimate and lived in, with pastel buildings, lively cafes, and church towers, all wrapped in centuries of history. Don't miss the Black Church, the oldest Gothic church in Eastern Europe, and one of Brașov's highlights. Once a medieval trading town, Brașov balances Transylvania's past with modern life. I grabbed a freshly made crepe from a local shop and wandered towards Stratosphori, better known as Rope Street, one of Europe's narrowest streets. This tight little passage was once a shortcut for firefighters rushing through Brașov. Today it's an alley tourists come to walk, barely 3.6 to 4.4 feet wide, narrow enough that you can stretch your hand and foot across both walls. It's covered in colorful graffiti, love notes, initials, and messages built up over time. Bran Castle is massive and a little spooky, nestled on a hill in Transylvania, roughly an hour from Brașov. The legends of Dracula, inspired by Vlad the Impaler, are impossible to ignore here. Inside, the stony staircases and corridors are full of surprises, nothing like the Dracula castle you imagined. One room stands out. The walls and ceiling are alive with dancing fairies and ghostly shadows. And it tells the tale of a couple deeply in love. The man turns into a wolf just as she sets up a picnic and attacks her, a mix of fairy tale and dark legend. Legends aside, Vlad never set foot here. Bran Castle is actually famous for inspiring Bram Stoker's Dracula. But surprisingly, the main attraction at Bran Castle is actually a museum, featuring the art and furniture collected by Queen Marie, the last queen of Romania. But there's more. You'll find a small open courtyard with a well, and from there, the castle leads you into some very different rooms. There's a medieval room packed with armor, heavy steel suits, helmets, and shields, once worn by guards protecting the castle. The torture chamber is where the castle gets truly eerie. Dim stone walls, hanging chains, and medieval tools, once used to interrogate prisoners, fill the room. Even now, the room carries an unsettling heaviness, and just when you think you've seen it all, The final surprise awaits in the castle's underground time tunnel. An eerie hall leads you to interactive displays that bring various tales and myths of Bran Castle to life. Vlad the Impaler locks eyes with you, while Romanian princes and rulers from the castle's long history line the halls. Armored knights charge into battle on oversized screens, while figures from Romanian folklore swirl and twist through the hall, guiding you toward the exit, where you can pose with these iconic characters for memorable photos on your way out. The next morning, I was back at the train station, leaving Bran Castle's shadows behind for the elegance of Peleș Castle. This might be one of the most impressive castles I've ever seen. The mix of brown and white, with carved wood and stone, stands solid, elegant, and striking. The manicured gardens are just as impressive as the castle. Make some time to stroll the stone terraces, check out the sculptures, and soak in the calm, serene surroundings before heading inside. Walking in, you can't help but be impressed. Every room is full of color, wood, and craftsmanship. Built in the late 1800s as the summer residence of Romania's first king, Carol I, it's now owned by the royal family and open as a museum. With nearly 160 rooms, the castle is filled with stunning details. Colorful rugs, ornate furniture, elegant bathrooms, decorative galleries, an arms gallery with thousands of weapons, and private chambers full of antiques. It's grand, it's detailed, and seeing it for yourself is something you won't forget. After a quick bite from a local bakery, I made my way to Sibiu, one of Transylvania's most enchanting medieval towns. This colorful city is full of quirky charm. Founded by German settlers in the 12th century, it's mostly famous for the eyes of Sibiu, and its rooftops are watching you. Little eye-shaped windows tucked into the rooftops of homes, always watching the streets below. Right outside my hotel was the Bridge of Lies. Supposedly it creaks, or even collapses, if you tell a lie while crossing it. I tested it. Still standing. Sibiu is tiny but charming, and I made my way to the heart of town. Piața Mare, the large square, and Piața Mică, the smaller one filled with restaurants and shops. I visited the Gothic Evangelical Cathedral of St. Mary, a 14th to 16th century church with a crypt that holds Mihnea Voda Celro, son of Vlad Țepeș. The iconic clock tower looms above the town, and I stopped in the square for a drink and a vegetarian meal. But my favorite part? Eating delicious kukros from a street vendor. I watched them roll the sweet dough, wrap it on a spit, coat it in sugar, and roast it until steam curled into the air. Sweet, warm, and impossible to resist. A perfect way to end the day. Astra isn't a typical museum. It's an open-air place where Romanian traditions are still practiced. Before exploring, I came across a group of locals singing together, calm, and felt spiritual. From there, I wandered the paths through forest trails and along quiet lakes, passing weathered wooden farmhouses and traditional homes from all over Romania. I got a real sense of how people once lived, the perfect finish to my time at Astra. Bright and early, it was time to say goodbye to Sibiu as I headed to the train station and set off for Sighișoara, one of Transylvania's most iconic medieval towns. It's hard not to fall in love with this charming city. Stepping into the walled old town feels like walking straight into a colorful fairy tale. With just 3 main streets, it's easy to explore the city on foot. Set along the Turda Mare River, the Holy Trinity Church caught my eye with its striking Baroque exterior. From the old city, I wandered past rows of pastel-colored medieval houses and winding cobblestone streets, until I reached the covered pupil staircase. 175 steps. At the top, colorful homes, flowers, and cafes appear first, followed by the church on the hill, with a centuries-old German cemetery just beyond. A reminder of the Saxon settlers who once lived here, and offers sweeping views of the city. This very house is where Vlad Tepes was born. It's one of the oldest buildings in Sighișoara, and is now a medieval-style restaurant with a small museum upstairs. As I climbed the creaky wooden stairs, a full suit of armor waited at the top, surrounded by medieval weapons and images of Vlad lining the walls.
So you just found this on accident?
Yes.
A local showed me that when Vlad's former home became a restaurant, renovations revealed centuries-old paintings, said to be the only images of his father, Vlad Dracula.
So this was Vlad's father's home?
Yes.
And that is amazing that you guys found this.
Yes.
The top floor is a campy, spooky museum, alluding to Vlad Tepes' birthplace, decked out with skeletons, a self-playing piano, what looks like a dead bride, and over-the-top spooky decor. And just when you least expect it, Dracula jumps out of a coffin. It's an amusing, quirky experience nonetheless. Next door, the 14th century clock tower rises above the city with a small history museum beside it. At the base, there's a detailed scale model showing what Sighișoara looked like centuries ago. As you head up the creaky, narrow stairs, you pass medieval artifacts, pieces of Saxon pottery, and the tower's intricate clock mechanism with its carved figurines. And at the top, the views over the city are breathtaking, a perfect way to close out a visit to this charming town. My final stop in Romania was Cluj-Napoca, about 3 hours by train from Sighișoara. A lively university city, it's young, hip, and full of energy, yet still retains its medieval charm. The city is striking and has a lot to offer. But I actually came here for one thing, the salt mine of Turda, about an hour away. Once a working salt mine for centuries, this place supplied salt to the entire region before closing in the early 1900s. It's a place unlike anything else. You descend about 120 meters underground into vast chambers carved out of solid salt. The scale is overwhelming. It feels less like a mine and more like a hidden underground world.
Pretty salty. It's a salt mine.
Down here, it accommodates an underground amusement park and experience zone. You can take a boat ride on a saltwater underground lake in the Turda mine. Just be prepared for the crowds. It's quite an experience.
This is the echo chamber. Hello!
Check out Sala Crivacului, home to a massive wooden winch that once hauled salt from deep underground. There are plenty of other places to learn about the history of the mine, such as the extraction shaft hall, which features a glass case model showing how salt was lifted and transported centuries ago. On the way out, make sure to stop and check out the carved Jesus and Mary sculpture before taking the elevator back up. A fun little detail to end your underground adventure. A quick flight brought me back to Bucharest. Last day, I wandered through a quieter green corner of the city with fountains on every block. Despite the traffic all around, it felt like a hidden oasis. I stopped for a meal at an outdoor restaurant overlooking the city as dusk fell. As the traffic of cars thinned, the cobblestone alleyways came alive with people hanging out and enjoying the evening. Colorful fountains lit up Bucharest that night, completely changing the mood of the city, and something about it just made me slow down. My mind drifted back to the places I'd visited, Brașov, Sibiu, and Sighișoara. The legendary castles and the stories hidden in every corner. Romania may be one of Europe's lesser-known countries, but that's exactly why it leaves a mark. It's a reminder that the world still has surprises, and the best ones are the ones you discover for yourself.